Hey guys, I'm making this video to kind of help anybody else that's new to cancer and chemo. I'm still pretty new myself. My name's Amber. Background story. I have stage 4 stomach cancer. It's metastasized to my pelvic and my ovaries now. I was positive for cancer November 20th of this year, 2018. And a week later, they told me when I met my oncologist for the first time that I was stage 4, and the surgical oncologist and the medical oncologist both agreed. By the end of that week, I had my chemo port put in, so that's mine. That's what it looks like. When it was put in, it was very sore and achy. It raged at the back. As it healed, it started to get itchy. Me personally, I try not to wear any bras just because of where the placement is and the straps keep rubbing against it when I move throughout the day. So I do things like a tank top or something, and then a shirt or whatever cute outfit I'm going to wear over that. So that's kind of what I do for bras and that for the ladies. So I've only had one session of chemo so far. I had it as an inpatient just to get us started right away. I almost needed a feeding tube because my stomach is partially blocked and I was having a very hard time with getting food down. I managed, though, to overcome that with really cutting like French toast, for example, into really, really small pieces, doing smaller portions, and just chewing really, really good. Before that, we were mulching things and I wasn't paying attention to how much, and then, oh no, my stomach is blocked, and then my stomach felt like it was going to pop. And then I ended up vomiting, and it was just this vicious cycle, and I just felt awful. Let's see. So my first chemo session was let's see, it would have been, let's see, today, so 2 weeks ago, so I want to say it was the 5th. So the 5th I was admitted, and I stayed for 2 days and didn't check out until the Friday. So they accessed my port, they drew some blood. Once they got me all checked in and settled into my room as an inpatient. And then from there, we waited for the blood work to come back. Hospital, it took forever. They got that back. I was basically all clear. They're really looking at your white blood cell count and then your baby white blood cells. I'll get into what that is later when I find the papers. But yeah, so we did 2 days of that, and I had my own cocktail. I will just write in a comment below what medicines were in my cocktail for the chemo, because I can't pronounce them, and I'm not even going to try. And then they sent me home with some medicine to help with nauseousness. You can get headaches, you can feel nauseous, you can feel like you don't want to eat, stomach aches, you can get constipated, diarrhea. Fortunately for me, the only thing I had was really bad abdominal pain for my first round. And it was just like, think of like the worst period cramp for you ladies, or the worst abdominal stomach ache pain just before you end up getting like the runs. And that was what I would randomly get, and it made me feel like I had to go to the toilet, but then nothing would come from that most of the time. I made sure that all those days that I was eating just pretty much anything I can. I know a lot of people are going to tell you to stay away from sugar. They have some form of thing like allergy. People are going to tell you all sorts of miracle drugs, miracle remedies, this and that. Your choice to decide what you want to do. Educate yourself with credible sources, ideally more than just one site, especially where I'm posting this in the cancer group. There's a lot of people that want to sell you on anything because you're desperate. So you need to do your own education to decide what works best for you. Also, if you're going to your first appointment for an oncologist, I definitely recommend you sit there and you think of all the questions you have. Have them go over your diagnosis, like explain the staging, explain things, like what was your report, what prompted them to decide that, so go have them go over your CT scan or your biopsy, what have you. Have them explain that to you better and break it down. I personally went and did my own research, and everywhere I've gone, whether it's for blood draws or a CT scan, what have you, I personally get a copy of it for myself, especially because you're going to get bounced around to a lot of different appointments, and for some of you, it's going to happen so fast that you're still processing that you're positive for cancer and you're this stage, and before you know, you've met a bunch of different doctors already, and it's just boom, boom, boom. So have those copies of those records, because sometimes some of those doctor offices just drop the ball and then you don't have the records and you're wasting time at an appointment when they could have helped. It would have been more productive and efficient with your time. And in my opinion, every minute counts with trying to treat, what we're dealing with. So that's on that. So I told you about my side effects that I had. Everybody's going to be different. You may want to talk to them about getting a medical card. Find out the doctors that you can go to and whether your state permits it or not. You're probably going to, in my case, I think for state of Florida was the Department of Transportation or Agriculture. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they're the ones that have the list of all the people you can go to that are authorized doctors for that to get the process going for your medical card. So if you do want to go down that avenue for pain, a lot of doctors, particularly mine, says that it doesn't hurt to have it. Others are going to give you painkillers like hydrocodone or something even stronger. Keep in mind, though, that opioids and that are very controlled, so you as a cancer patient may have a hard time getting a hold of larger quantities in more than like a week at a time, just because it's controlled. I had that problem initially, and I was just literally getting Tylenol with codeine, and nobody wanted to fill it based on the quantity, and I had to explain to a facility until they finally were able to help, but then insurance didn't want to cover it because of the quantity. They only wanted to cover a week at a time. So I ended up paying out of pocket, which it ended up being like $30-something at Publix for like 120, 130 pills, which was more than I'm going to need. I am one of those people that don't really rely on pain medication. So, I just have it kind of just sitting there for now. But if, I need it, I've got it ready to go. So I would do the extra steps to get those things, even though you might not need them right now. It may come down to a later time that you're going to go, oh, wow, I really need this. And you have to remember, you have to see a doctor. There's going to be a waiting period to see that doctor to get to that appointment. And then on top of it, you have to process your application to get the medical marijuana card. So, it might be best to be proactive before you start your chemo and really get going when you still feel really good. I've had randomness with tiredness. I'll do random activities. I'll be sweeping in my room, and then out of nowhere, I'll go, I need to take a nap. That's going to happen. It's okay. I know a lot of people are worried about losing their hair. Don't worry. It's going to grow back after the chemo. It might be a different color or consistency, but you know what? It's just hair. What I did to help cope with prepping for my hair falling out is I went and did the craziest hairstyle I wanted to do, and that was where the girls have the half of their head shaved, and then I did a crazy hair color. And I did that after my first session of chemo, like a week in, because you are going to be a bit toxic for like the first 24, 48, maybe 3 days after your chemo. You'll need to talk to whoever it is that's administering your chemo to get the specifics. There's also a lot of rule of thumbs with that too. A lot of the facilities that I've gone to so far, because I've bounced around to at least 3-4 different hospitals now and counting to treat all this, and They have just a wealth of knowledge and they're from credible sources. Again, remember the internet is full of misinformation, so keep that in mind. So I was supposed to get my chemo on the 13th of December, so just a week and a day from when they first started my last round. But I unfortunately had severely low white blood cell count. I started as a 7 point something, which isn't a good range, and I dropped all the way to 2. So my body is basically depleted in white blood cells, including the ones in your bone marrow, which are the baby cells, which then mature to be your regular white blood cells. Those are two things they're going to look at. If your count, from what they told me, is lower than 1,000, they will postpone your chemo. So keep in mind that they might tell you you're getting your chemo every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks. You may go in for your session, but your body's going to tell you sometimes otherwise, that you're not getting that round that day and it's going to get pushed back. Because I know some people look at it and go, okay, I have 6 months of sessions, so based on this, this will be my last day for chemo. You can't go by that. Everything is touch and go. You're going to play it by ear. And the best thing to do is take it a day at a time. I put a lot of what I'm dealing with in a box. Most people don't know what I'm going through until I tell people that I'm stage 4. And you're going to get a lot of people that are going to freak out and say that might go away, that you thought were going to be there. In my case, I had who I considered a best friend, and I understand that she's busy with moving and everything, and usually her career kind of just takes over her life, but I considered her a best friend, and I wanted her for my wedding, which I was planning for 2020, to be one of my maids of honor in the wedding, and she hasn't reached out to me. She knows I have cancer. I see her on Facebook having conversations with her friends, hanging out with other friends, and I've been completely just erased. And then I've had where there's people I very, very rarely even talk to or see, and they've been there every single day. And just be prepared for that. You're going to learn who really should be in your life and who shouldn't. It's your choice how you want to sort that. Me personally, this is the time when those people closest to me should be here, and some of them are not. So the way I look at it, people make time for people that matter to them. And she's made no time for me. So obviously there's something I need to sort with that. But I just want to let you know that, people are going to go away. It's going to be upsetting, but it's okay. You're going to meet a bunch of fantastic people. You're going to meet people in the chemo treatment center that are just so upbeat, and that's what I met a lady yesterday, and all she did was just laugh and giggle. They're putting her chemo port in, and, well, not the port, the hookup, and she's just giggling because she's super ticklish and making jokes and just full of life, and it was just, fantastic to be seated next to her in the hospital trying to get my chemo treatment and just listening to her. And she even came into my cubicle to come see me before she left. And someone rang the bell, which is fantastic. You're going to meet a lot of fantastic people and staff, so don't worry, you're not going to be alone. And even people in this group are going to reach out to you, and I'm available to reach out if you just want to talk or you have questions. I'm still pretty new. So I've basically been on this roller coaster for a month and a day now, finding out I had cancer. So I'm still learning things as well, but I've taken a lot of time and devoted a lot of my spare time into educating myself on things you can do, things you can't do, rule of thumb, learning about my condition and just, stuff like that. Because I've been put where I can't work anymore until this whole roller coaster is over. So I have a lot of spare time. Some people are going to choose to go to work. That's fine too. Me personally, I was afraid of how I would feel during the chemo, and I was juggling 2 to 3 jobs at the time, and I just was afraid of how I would react to the chemo because I didn't know, and it was just easier to just walk away. So I've come off the schedules for my jobs. I haven't necessarily quit, but I've explained to them and they completely understand, and it's just whenever I decide to let go, I'm going to let go. But for now, I just kind of kept them in a limbo just in case. Hair. A lot of you are going to worry about the hair coming out. That usually starts 2 to 3 weeks from your first round of chemo. And there's some people, from what I've been told, can hold on to that hair for many sessions at a time, and then randomly your body will decide, okay, we're going to get rid of the hair now. So my hair started falling out yesterday, and I have long hair. It's like about boob length. It's getting everywhere. At first it was when I was brushing my hairbrush was getting really full of hair, so I was shedding a lot. Now, like, I just took a shower. This is all my hair, and I don't want you to panic. It's not painful for it to come out. So in my case, see, it's just coming out like that. It doesn't hurt. It's not like when your hair is like really, like when the follicles are really anchored in where it feels like someone's ripping your head off. Yeah, so don't worry. It's part of the process. It's going to be okay. Doesn't hurt. The only thing I had was, it may have been because I love scalding hot showers, but last week my head was really itchy. And then yesterday when this all really started, when I really started to notice the hair loss, all up here was very sore. Like when, for the ladies, it's when you wear a ponytail really, really tight, and then you let it go and the follicles are really sore, like the top of your scalp. That's how it felt for me. And then just, you would just do this and then just, there goes more hair. But that's kind of what has happened. Some people choose to shave their head. It's your choice what you want to do. I kind of recommend cutting your hair into a pixie cut. It makes cleanup much easier. I have red hair everywhere. It's everywhere. It's a pain to clean. So I try to, in the shower, to help the process along the best I could while it was in my shower to keep it contained. And that's all that I got from just that shower. I may just even everything out at the end of today once I get my next shot, because I'm now getting shots to boost my white blood cell count so that hopefully next week I can get my chemo session. They're giving me something called a Inpatient. Side effects for that can cause aches in the bones, almost like a growing pain. So that's what I'm dealing with right now. But they're soon going to be giving me something called Neulasta, which will be something that'll go on my arm. Don't know much else about it. I haven't Googled into it yet to find the manufacturer's website to learn. But that's probably a regimen we're going to do. But they did it to the back of this arm right here. And it just helps boost your white blood cell count if you do, for some reason, do the roller coaster and you go too low. What else? So that's pretty much where I'm at right now. I'm pending chemo session round 2. That's about it for me. I personally don't feel worn down from the chemo. Everybody feels different. I, for the most part, don't feel like any of this has really affected me. But according to my blood panel, the CBC, which is the comprehensive CBC panel is what they did. So that looks at all the details in the red blood cells and your white blood cells and all that, which is more detailed than just a regular CBC. internally, I'm a mess. And I have basically no immune system anymore. I'm immunocompromised. So I wouldn't go to a theme park right now. I'm in Florida. I wouldn't go near Universal or Disney World or to a crowded movie theater right now. It's not a good idea. Especially right now, like getting sick would hospitalize me. And the chemo on that's already enough bucket of fun. And I don't want to be in the hospital more than I need to. So it's a lot of frequent hand washing and not really eating at like McDonald's anymore or anything that you're used to. So yeah, if you guys have any more questions, feel free to private message me or, you know, leave a comment below because I intend on putting this in the group. And I'll do the best to answer, and I'm sure other people that are veterans in the group will be happy to help as well. Because some of them have climbed this mountain and rang that bell more than once. So, yeah, get ready for that. Yeah, we're a good support group, and you know, again, you're not alone. You just got to take it day by day. Just put all the stress in a box because stressing isn't going to change it. You know, it's okay to set a certain time limit to cry if you need to, but I would only leave it in that window to be sad for yourself and then move forward and focus on what you need to do, the questions you need to ask, and get those affairs in order. Look into groups, or I should say foundations, to grants and that to help with your bills, because you're going to start to miss a lot of work and you're going to need help. You know, some of you might need to file for disability, Medicaid, Medicare. Now is the time to start looking into the things that you have to do. Again, get copies of your scans, your blood work. Keep it handy. I went ahead and put everything in a binder. So I have for, you can't really see it, I have for all the doctors that I'm seeing. So this was the gastro that I saw, and they did an EDG. They scoped my stomach and found the mass. So that's them. That's all the paperwork they've given me. They even gave me like a biopsy report and stuff. So I kept all of it. All of it. So yeah, I have from the medical oncologist, the surgical oncologist. I have anything from like LabCorp, Quest Diagnostics. I kept everything. It's just really helpful. And for me personally, I kind of want to see the trends, but I'm just weird and just nerdy like that. So I just kind of like to be aware of what the chemo is doing to me each session. So I have my starting values, and I've been watching to see what we're doing. And my doctor likes it. I'm very in tune with what's going on, or I've done my own research. My first visit, they said that being stage 4 and that I wasn't operable. So the growth in my stomach and everything on my ovaries and that, he told me that it was such a mess that they weren't going to be able to do any surgery to take any of it out, and that it was just going to be shrinking it the best that they could and just managing it. And because I'm doing, for the most part, really well with the response of the chemo, and a lot of my pain went silent once I started, he's thinking he may be able to do a surgery now. So I'll find out soon. I'm going to be doing my first MRI, so that'll be interesting to see how that goes. And then for anyone else that was wondering, because I know some people want to know like the type of cancer you're going through. Again, I had have stage 4 stomach cancer. It's adenocarcinoma for the Synget cell. So it's very fast moving, it's aggressive. It's like wildfire. So we're trying to keep it contained and shrink it down, and get the best prognosis that we can out of it. My MRI will kind of determine how that goes, because we found something on the liver as well. with a CT scan, but the CT scan doesn't tell me if it's what exactly it is. So the MRI will light up whatever is active tumors, from what I'm understanding. So there's like two ways it could go. It could be the cancer has spread there too, which means I won't be able to have the surgery that we're now talking about, or it's from birth control. So prolonged use of birth control can also cause these little lumps, I guess, for lack of a better word, on your liver there, but to my understanding, they're typically benign. But they can grow because of the birth control. So we need to figure out what it is to figure out what our next move is. They're also looking into doing immunotherapy. I don't know where we're at with that. Waiting to find out. So for now, I'm doing chemo, and then there's something else I wanted to tell you guys and I forgot. Yeah, I can't remember. So, you know, hey-ho. Again, if anyone wants to reach out to me, you're more than welcome to. If you have any other questions, just ask the group. Hopefully people will answer your questions and go beyond saying prayers. And because I've noticed that a lot, people will ask questions and they're looking for answers, and people aren't paying attention, and they're just responding with prayers. And people they want answers. They kind of want a response to understand what's going on. And I know I've had that a few times and I got really annoyed with it. So I hope people are doing in the group a bit more better of a job listening. So, yeah. Anywho, reach me if you need me. Good luck, guys.